I'm going to have you guys watch this to get the context to what I'm going to be talking about in this video, but this is an official panel that Crunchyroll led, talking with the producers of Soul Leveling Season 1 and Season 2, A1 Pictures, you get the point. Basically, they talk about the future of Soul Leveling, when to expect it, and just how much effort that has been poured into it. And also, on a little side note, I'm going to be talking about the overall success, or the massive success, of Soul Leveling in terms of sales in Japan. But let's start off with this first, let's listen to this, and then we'll dive right into it.
事実としてシーズン1からシーズン2、アニメーターの人たちは実は22万枚の作画をこなしています。
But in truth, between season 1 and season 2, 22万枚, 220,000 frames of animation were created.
それを全部手で描いているので、ちょっと次のオリンピックぐらいまで。
So, to clarify what he means by that, he's talking about there was 220,000 animation frames created for Season 1 and Season 2 of Soul Leveling. The average episode of an anime, at least from what I can Google and find out, is 3,000 to 4,000. For those that are animators and can clarify this number, please do so in the comments below. But through a quick Google search, it basically states that an average episode can range to up to 4,000. Obviously, it can vary and get significantly more depending on the project, but this is apparently the typical. So, we gotta factor in, like a 20-episode series, 220,000 animation frames. That's a lot. That's way over 10,000 frames pretty much per episode. Way more double than the average anime episode if we're led to believe this is actually accurate. So that is pretty ridiculous. We got some insight into just how much effort has been poured into every single anime episode for Soul Leveling. But obviously there's a lot more information to take away from this, so let's continue playing it.
住んでほしいんですけど、22万1枚目を書いてくれるかどうかはあと金子さん次第だと。
Yeah. And of course, I would love to give the animators a little breathing room. So if it were up to me, I would say let's wait until the next Olympics to see what's going to happen to season 3. But
so that right there officially confirms it. Producers and stuff that work with Crunchyroll and Soul Leveling, A1 Pictures, etc., they have pretty much given us a release time frame. We are probably not going to see Soul Leveling until the next Olympics. And if you don't know when the next Olympics are, it's in 2028. So that means that we're going to have to wait through 2025, 2026, 2027, and then 2028. And for all we know, anything can happen from now and then to where it might come out earlier, or it could even be delayed, depending on just what happens to, you know, the anime industry, so to speak. So, pretty much what is being confirmed here is that Season 1 and Season 2 was a massive undertaking. There was a lot of animation frames that was poured into it, like so much work being done for it, that it is a massive hurdle, a mountain that they're going to have to tackle again for Season 3. And what I covered yesterday with a brief video, there was a revelation, a reveal, that just a single episode of Soul Leveling takes about 10 to 12 months to create, which is insane information that we got. But when you factor in just how many frames typical of an episode of Soul Leveling potentially has in comparison to an average episode, and then you factor in just how much work was put out for all the seasons, and then how many employees they have, makes a lot of sense why Soul Leveling would be a massive undertaking and why it would take just a long time to be able to animate it. So when you factor in what I talked about yesterday and how I said that most likely when Soul Leveling was in production, when they were planning the episode phases on how many episodes they were wanting to have, Season 1 and Season 2 most likely were already guaranteed. They were already dead set and greenlit Season 1 and Season 2 before they even saw the success or popularity of Soul Leveling. They were already going to do that many episodes. That, I think, was the original intention. But obviously, with the overall success, obviously there is a high demand for it, which could make the overall release of Soul Leveling a lot sooner than it's potentially going to be in 2028. But the point of the matter is that they booked probably a lot of anime in turn after Soul Leveling, and they're so booked up with a bunch of different projects that they can't possibly pump out Soul Leveling in a good amount of time until maybe 2027 or 2028, which is why we have a comment like this within this video, which is pretty sad to hear that we're going to have to wait a very long time. Like, we now have an actual window release date, but it makes a lot of sense when you factor in that A1 Pictures, Aniplex, Crunchyroll, and all these different people behind the scenes, they have so many projects that they're working on, and there's just so many hands on deck with different things going on, that there's just no way that they could solely only focus on Soul Leveling. It's not possible. It's not feasible. And so to craft or cook something that is to the same level as Solo Leveling Season 1 and Season 2 was, it's going to take some time. So because of that, I feel like this accurate assessment of waiting until 2028 is most likely very accurate. Give or take a year or two detracted from it or added to it, I feel like that's more or less what we could assume. So I doubt we're going to probably see Solo Leveling Season 3 in 2026 or 2025, obviously, and it's a very big maybe in 2027. Obviously, it does come down to the success. Like, for instance, if Solo Leveling really is just so overwhelming in terms of money making, companies are not going to overlook that. They're going to definitely want to produce it once again faster and faster to get as much money as possible. But at the same time, we got to remember this is the same industry that delayed Attack on Titan for a very long time, and Attack on Titan turned out really good. It did, regardless of people's personal preferences to the ending, if you hated it or not. You know, Attack on Titan's anime did very well, very popular, still talked about to this day. So maybe making everybody wait is a good thing if it's going to be a very solid product. That's my personal takeaway. But, yeah, we at least got confirmation now when to expect Season 3, how hard it was to make Season 1 and Season 2, and that it's very clear that they want to give the animators a break. They want the animators to be able to see their kids. They want their animators to be able to go home to their families and be able to spend the holidays with them. That's basically what's being said here. Now, with this being talked about, we need to talk about the success of Solo Leveling's overall sales in Japan. Now, this is domestically, from my understanding, just in Japan, as you can see here. So this is not counting, for instance, worldwide releases or anything like that. This is not counting streaming, merchandise sales in terms of maybe figures or anything else. This is strictly just BD sales and DVD sales for Volume 1, which, for those that are unaware, when it comes to anime releases in Japan, they split the episodes into different volumes. For instance, like they'll have maybe 2 to 3 episodes on a disc, and then they'll release a Volume 2, which will have episodes 4 and 6 on the next disc, and they sell them individually, and regardless if you think that's overpriced or, you know, money scamming or whatever, you know, title you want to attach to it, that's how it's always been in Japan. But basically, the first volume of Season 2 of Solo Leveling sold very well, where it sold 1,500 copies. Now, this might seem relatively low, especially when you look at massive numbers like, you know, multi-million-dollar sales for games, etc., but this is pretty high, especially for BD DVDs just in the world in general nowadays, but also just when it comes to Blu-ray DVDs for anime and stuff, because typically they range from the 1,000 mark, 900 mark, maybe the upper thousands, and this is basically where Solo Leveling is going. As it's been stated with the ranking, apparently it ranked in the 7th on the week's bestseller list, so it's not in the top 5, but it's in the top 10, which basically lets us know that Solo Leveling is doing relatively well in Japan, which is a big shocker. It's actually good news, because, for those that are unaware, Solo Leveling is popular in the West. Like, I think everybody knows this. It's extremely popular, but it was always going to be potentially a hard sell in Japan, because of the content within Solo Leveling. For those that have read the novel or webcomic, there's a lot of anti-Japan stuff within it, and basically it's very clear that it might not sit right with Japanese citizens in Japan, and, you know, just the way it comes from Korea as well, since it's a Korean webcomic. There's a lot of variables to it. So there was always a possibility that it might not do domestically well in Japan, but it's very clear, at the very least, there is interest. It's doing very well. It's selling pretty good in the top 10. So it's very clear, or at least indication right now for Season 2, it's a massive success. It is a very good success for Solo Leveling, which I think is indication enough that Season 3 is 100% coming. That's a no-brainer, obviously. Just the question is when, which goes back into what I talked about at the beginning of the video. It's probably coming out in 2028 or 2027 at the earliest. So, yeah, I wanted to bring this up because there was more information that came out about Solo Leveling today. Obviously, the video from yesterday kind of overlaps with this video, but we didn't have full confirmation of a 2028 release window, but now we kind of do with the words from the producer's own mouth in this video. Once again, this is an official Crunchyroll panel. You can literally see it here. This is official. This is not, like, inaccurate. This is not, you know, misinformation. It's completely legit. But I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for watching. May all of you have a fantastic day or night wherever you live. Be safe, stay healthy. Chibi out.